underneath that ridge to make a cut. We'll just tack this one in here temporarily. Now we can go down to the other end and drop that one. Here's another leg cut the same length as that one behind us. There's the 1/2-inch gap. We drop this ridge, it'll be level. Cut her loose, Joe. It only takes a slight adjustment to bring the ridge down to level, and then we can nail off this rafter. You'll notice it has no tail. That's because this is where the main roof joins the garage roof. We call a rafter without a tail a mule. Then I nail off the ridge posts. These will also keep the ridge from sagging, so I like to put one every 10 feet or so. Well, the ridge is now level, so we want to make it plumb. To do that, we nail in a permanent sway brace. Now, to make this ridge plumb, all we have to do is move the rafter over till it barely touches this long straight edge. Just like that. Go ahead and nail it, Joe. Now, you can see we placed this sway brace so it doesn't fall on the rafter layout. Perfect. That's it. Good. Here we go. Working efficiently means we set all of our ridge before going back and nailing off the remaining rafters. Well, all our ridge is set, the sun's out, and we're nailing off the common rafters. Joe picks up each rafter to make it easier for me to nail here at the ridge. Holding the rafter flush with the top of the ridge, I drive in 2/16. About every 10 feet, Joe drops down and nails off a rafter at the plate line to help hold the ridge straight. Later, we'll come back and finish blocking and nailing. When nailing the opposing rafters, no need to toe nail. Angle the 16s through the ridge into the rafter. We're nailing off the rafters at the plate now, and here's how it goes. First, one of the blocks with the bevel on top is positioned. It's nailed off with 2/16. Then a toenail into the plate, and 3/16 into the joist where they lap. Then 2 nails to hold the back end of the block. Here it is again. The block is placed, snug up the rafter, toenail into the plate, nail off the block, and nail the lap. And turn around then and finish off the block. That's the code, and that's the way it goes all the way down. Well, the garage rafters get the same treatment. I begin by building up a bigger catwalk in the middle so we can work safely. Then the rafters are handed up. These rafters are 16 inches on center, but many plans call for rafters to be 24 inches on center. Now, just like any other roof, we set the ridge between 2 pairs of rafters. Measure for level and adjust if necessary. Nail in mid-span rafters and fill in between. Finally, block a nail along the plate. We're ready now to close in this end with our gable studs. What we do is we measure over 7 inches right here from the center of this ridge and make a mark. That'll leave 14 inches right here between these two gable studs so we can put in an end vent. Then we measure the length of our first gable stud, which is 43.5 inches. That's all we need to know. We're ready to cut our gable studs now, and it's a real good time to use up some of this scrap lumber. We're working on a 4 1/12 pitch, just like this. So each gable stud that runs down this pitch is going to be 5 3/8 inches shorter than the previous one. And we call that the common difference. Let me show you what that means. Gable studs cut in pairs. Our first set is 43.5 inches. Now our next set, the common difference of these gable studs, is 5 3/8 of an inch. So we mark that. So how did I find the common difference? Well, this is explained in detail in the book. Now we set our saw at 18.5 degrees. That's the degree of a 4 1/12 pitched roof. These gable studs are nailed 16 inches on center. And when you're nailing off the top end to the rafter, be careful not to push it up. Every gable end gets closed in with gable studs. Here I'm finishing up the north end of the house. We're back here on this model. We want to show you a few details. You remember we cut notches in our end rafter? Well, this is the reason that we did that. We nailed in these 2x4s. They're called lookouts. They come from this first inboard rafter through this notch and they hang out over the outside edge. Then we cut them to length so we can nail on this barge rafter right through those lookouts. The barge rafter on this side, it'll nail into these lookouts, just like that. I've sighted down the rake rafter, made sure it was straight, and now I nail the lookouts with 2/16 through the top into the rake rafter, and 2/16 through the end of the inboard rafter. Now before we sheet this roof, there's a few things we have to do. These 2x6 rafters here, they're overspanned. They're just not heavy enough to carry the weight of the roof. So what we're going to do, we come underneath here and we're going to put a brace. This brace is called a purlin. It goes right up underneath these rafters and nails in place. Then we're going to brace it off this wall down here. The first thing I do is toe nail through the rafters into the top of the purlin. I know where to nail because we marked the layout on the purlin. This will keep these rafters nice and straight. One piece of purlin isn't